Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Winners and Winers Radio. I'm your host, Scott Steehn, and I am the lead handicapper at winnersandwiners.com. Joined, as always, by my partner, my co-host. He's the resident soccer expert around here, and we're going to talk a little footy a little bit later. He is the one and the only senior handicapper at Winners and Winers. He is Scott Reichel. Scott, welcome back to the show, as always. What's going on, buddy?
Nothing much. I'm kind of impressed. I think you probably set the show record for the quickest spoiler in the history of the program. What was that, about 10 seconds in?
I know, yeah, about 10, 12 seconds in.
I was planning on catching the people off guard. They were going to go, well, there's only one game on. What are we going to talk about? It turns out there's not actually one game on. There's actually two. But that surprise just went right out the window.
Well, technically there's three games on because Haiti is playing somebody in that.
Yeah, but two games.
It's a doubleheader. Okay, I'm just saying. So, yeah, we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about baseball. We've got one game on the card, everybody, so buckle up. It's going to be a great hour. But this will be the last one. This will be the last one for a very long time where we have to scramble for content, Scott. So if you guys hang with us today, I promise it gets better. And we'll go back to our slogan where it actually means something. And, of course, our slogan is Winners and Winers Radio. Give us an hour, we'll give you the winners. But to give you more than one winner, we're going to need more than one game. So we're going to take a couple shots here. We've got some interesting things to talk about, some interesting bets. If you're a futures fan, stand by. We've got some futures in baseball to talk about. We've also got some fantastic trends to talk about as far as betting in baseball for the second half of the season. Some of the ones that have kind of shown up in the first half and may or may not be actionable. But before we get rolling, we'll, of course, remind you that you are listening to Winners and Winers Radio, and we are, of course, brought to you by, this should come as no shock to anybody, winnersandwiners.com. Winnersandwiners.com. If you don't know what they are, you should absolutely check it out because they are the best handicapping site anywhere in the free world, Scott. Each day, people from over 150 countries stop by to check out the latest information as weather, odds changes, injuries, all that stuff that you have to know before you make your final play. And that is the place you should be going to check it out. Winnersandwiners.com. Full previews and predictions into every game, every single day. Always available to you 24 hours a day and always 100% free. That's the best part. So make sure you stop by and check out winnersandwiners.com. Tell them Scott's sent you. There you go. How was your Thursday? You do okay? I know you had a tennis parlay, right?
I did. I had tennis parlay in the early hours of the morning.
Little wake and rake?
A little wake and rake, so to speak. And other than that, though, I had the Bucks minus 3.5, which was never in doubt. Nice winner there. We're going to talk about that game in a little bit because there's a lot to unravel. But Phoenix, I don't want to say they're going to lose the series because that's a complete overreaction, but they were about as close to being just gift-wrapped a road playoff victory and just let it slip through the fingertips.
Couldn't do it. Couldn't finish the deal. Had a nice lead there in the fourth quarter and just couldn't finish it off. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes, Scott. And we do have a lot to talk about as far as that game and how the series is going to play out. But so far, it's been a homer series, my friend.
Going into the finals, I had Suns in 7. And my logic is I think the home team wins every game. So I'm about a little bit more than halfway through. I don't know how I feel about that call right now, but as of so far, it's everything according to plan, so to speak.
I was going to say you have to feel good about it so far because you're 4 for 4.
It is, but I feel like the Suns with Chris Paul's injury might be reeling a little bit, but we can get to that in a little while.
Yep, let's do it. Hey,
yeah, whatever.
Yep.
No, I was just going to say. I mean, we'll talk about it in a bit. As of right now, we can transition to what we normally do for the start of the show.
Can we do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's go ahead and do it. All right, guys, as always, we'll get it rolling. And sometimes we really got to we have to dig deep to come up with some of these, but we know you love them. We know you appreciate them, and we're working hard to get them to you. We're going to start off, as we always do, with the people that kind of took it in the shorts. They thought they had a winner right up until the time they didn't, and you got ripped off. You got your money stolen. Only one thing to do when that happens, you got to call the cops, baby. All right, man, they just got here, and they are not happy, Scott, having to come out and deal with the likes of us. But we'll start it off in basketball. My God, I can't believe we don't have a tennis play. How about the Suns +5, Scott. They were covering that number for the first 47 minutes and 33 seconds of the game. That should be good, right? As long as you can hang in there for the last 27 seconds. Oh, no. Chris, another turnover? Yeesh. Bucks didn't miss a free throw down the stretch. The Suns couldn't get that miracle back-to-back three-pointers or anything like that. They end up losing by 6. Yikes. If you had the Suns +5, you got a very good number. You had a very good bet for the vast majority of the game. But all that matters is what it says when the clocks say 00. And that said you were a loser. Time to call the cops.
And since you brought up tennis, I feel like we kind of have to talk about it. We're going to start off with an early morning match between Desir and Seboth Wild. Yes, that's the name of a person. He's Brazilian, so he's, foreign, which is why that name might not sound that common, but maybe it's common over in Brazil. Who knows? Either way, if you had the over 21 games in that match, you were in pretty good shape. You had the maximum amount in the first set. You had a tiebreaker, which is 13 games right there. You just needed Seboth Wild to win 2 games in the second set for a push. You could even win a set and you automatically win, but that did not happen. Desir won the second set 6-1, 13 + 7 = 20, which means you ended up losing despite having a tiebreaker in the first set. So if you had the over 21 games between Desir and Seboth Wild, you couldn't even get a push. You just got a straight-out heartbreaking loss.
I cannot count on my fingers, Scott, the times that Seboth Wild has let me down.
Can't either.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable it happens again.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice how Scott had that one planned out where he got to say Desir and Seboth Wild.
Truth is that we actually had it spaced out differently, and then I realized, oh, yeah, that's right. You're doing the first and the third one, so I should probably flip this.
Well, let's stick with tennis because, I love the tennis bad beats. So we get all kinds of emails from people saying, guys, we love the show, but if you could have some more tennis bad beats, that would be fantastic. So we are here for, well, it's actually one person that said that one time. It's not exactly a mandate, but you know what? We're doing it, Scott. You're playing tennis. You had Karlovic +3 against Bublik. You were in great shape, leading by 1 game, heading into the third set. And, of course, Karlovic, Scott, he's arguably the greatest server of all time. He's about 9 feet tall, serves at 190 miles an hour. I don't know. I could be guessing. But he's huge, and he serves fast. But he got broken twice in the final set. Hard to believe I didn't have a bet on this because that's the way that goes. Greatest server of all time. Got broken twice in the final set. That's right. I'll say it again. He lost the match by 4 games. If you had Mr. Rocket Serve, Karlovic +3, you got so close. So very close. Just 1 break would have been great. But no, you had to get 2. You ended up losing by 4. It's time for you to call the cops.
Plus, in addition to him having one of the best serves ever, it was also on grass. So his serve was even stronger than it normally is. And yet, that didn't matter because he got absolutely buried 6-1 in the final set.
It's weird. I've been on grass many times, and I find it much more difficult to return serves when I'm on grass.
I prefer playing football on grass, but that's just me.
Saying. Well, Scott, there was some good news tonight, and these are the people that had the nice, easy victories. Maybe you had some plays in that basketball game. Maybe you had some prop action going on, and there was a lot of easy-peasy props that hit today. And you, my friend, had the nice, easy cash. You didn't have to sweat it at all. You were sitting in the rocking chair.
So the first one involved a total in the Suns-Bucks game, but it was not the full game total. It was actually not even the half total. It was the first quarter total. If you had the first quarter under 55.5, you won, but you got to watch some painful basketball because both teams did not look very good out of the gates. You had 34 points in about the first 10 minutes of the game. First quarter ended with 43, which basically killed the full game over, the first half over, and everything like that. But for the sake of this actual bet, if you take a first quarter wager and you win the total by double-digit points, that's about as rocking chair as it gets.
Absolutely. And, yeah, we did have the over on the premium side. And, yeah, that first quarter absolutely took us out of the running there. The other 3 quarters pretty much did what they needed to do. But, yeah. Scott, if you had Devin Booker over 27.5 points, let me ask you, if you had that bet, before you made the bet, I told you Scotty's only going to play 3 quarters. How do you feel about it now?
Not as good as I did before you told me that.
Oh, you shouldn't worry, my friend. If you had over 27.5 points, you didn't have to sweat it because he had 40 through the first 3 quarters. And it's a good thing because he picked up his 5th foul, set for the majority of the 4th quarter, finished with 42. That didn't matter to you because after 30 minutes, or excuse me, after 36 minutes, you had it won. Devin Booker over 27.5. Sit back, relax, have a nice big cigar because you were sitting in the rocking chair.
And the last one was the exact opposite of the Devin Booker play, which was somebody who didn't really do anything on offense the entire game. It was PJ Tucker. And if you had under 4.5 points, yes, someone somewhere gambled on a player to score less than 5 points in an NBA game. And if you did, you're a genius because Tucker only took 1 shot the entire game and finished with the same amount of points as the 2 of us. So if you had Tucker under 4.5, he did a lot of running. I hope he got a lot of cardio exercise in there.
Well, that's the big difference between him and us.
That is true. That's probably the only difference based on what happened in that game.
He plays a little better defense, I think.
He did. He fouled a couple 3-point shooters, but
oh, there you go. So that's something.
That's something, but yeah, if you had Tucker under 4.5, you take 1 shot. You know Tucker's not getting to the line too much. That's an easy winner.
Ugly. I can't wait to talk about this game because there's so many
There's
things.
so much to unravel. There's so many layers.
Scott, let's do it.
Well, before we get into the NBA game, we got to talk about another type of basketball that was being played yesterday.
Yep. It's the same type of basketball. They play with a little more colorful basketball. The players are a little bit shorter. Some would say a little more entertaining, huh?
Different minutes per quarter, but same idea.
Different minutes per quarter, 4 quarters. They're all different minutes, but it's the WNBA, Scott. They had their All-Star game last night, and a lot of action on the total. Can we say that?
Whoa, wait! I think you forgot something.
I know. I'm just kind of teasing it there because
I think the tease is the sound effect itself. But
yeah, I know you don't want to miss it. Hey guys, it's going to be the WNBA. Well, sort of. All right, stick around. It's Donkey of the Day.
Pound for pound, best sound effect on the radio.
Pound for pound, best. That's right. You may find more entertaining people on the radio, but you will not find better sound effects anywhere. I challenge you to find a better sound effect than that anywhere. No, you can't do it. Can't do it. So, Scott, WNBA All-Star game.
You had the All-Star game on for the WNBA. Now, I'm sure a lot of people didn't know that because they're waiting for Game 4 to start, but that's not what we're going to be talking about. Instead, we are going to talk about this from a gambling perspective, and we're going to talk about the Vegas bookmakers as the donkey of the day. Now, I'm sure a lot of you might be wondering, Vegas tends to get lines extremely right. You remember how in pretty much every single game, you will see lines like the Bucks and Suns where it comes down to the wire, something crazy might happen, and you end up barely winning or barely losing, and you think, these odds makers, very, very good at their job. Then you have these type of games where you have the WNBA All-Star game, and for this one, we're going to be looking at the total. Now, the total in this one, since it's an All-Star game, opened up at 248.5 in some Vegas book spots, which sounds...
I'm sorry, for the ladies?
For the ladies.
Okay, that seems hot.
Which sounds optimistic, but, it's an All-Star game. Nobody plays any defense. We'll see what happens.
Do they play more minutes? Do they play longer than 40 minutes?
No, they do not.
Okay, so they still just play the 40 minutes.
Correct, but it appears that a lot of people were thinking the same way that you were thinking because you had a decent amount of under money coming in on that game.
A little bit of under money coming in. Scott, you want to tell us how much?
What do you consider a big line move for any total? 5 points, 4 points?
Yeah, 5, 6 points, maybe a few more if there's an injury, but yeah.
Can I interest you in 51 points?
I'm sorry, the line moved 51 points?
The total went from 248.5 to 197.5. It moved 51 points.
A little bit of fat arbitrage there, huh, Scott?
A little bit. And unfortunately, if you had the arbitrage, you lost.
Because lost them both.
Because even with that 51-point line move, the game still landed 178. So with all of the terrible opening lines, with the closing line, with everything, if you were betting on the All-Star game under, you had probably the easiest winner, arguably, in the history of sports. And my question for you is, A, the donkey of the day is going to be how Vegas screwed that up. B, that has to be the biggest line move of all time, right? 51 points?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to find one bigger than that. I think you're going to look for a long time and find one and not find one bigger than that. If this would have been a more mainstream sport, or even if this game would have been a standalone, like if it would have been on Thursday night, say if it had been tonight instead of up against an NBA game, I think they'd have got hammered a lot more. I mean, this would have been an all-time loss if this would have happened in the NBA game. I mean, obviously you're not going to move a line 50 points in an NBA game, but the amount of money that had to be wagered to drop the line like that, and then
Low limits, of course, in the WNBA, but still a lot of money coming in.
Well, if you were in Vegas, you weren't as limited as you would be online. I mean, you're still going to play lower limits than normal, but
well, you know that offshore will always try to copycat what Vegas does, and they'll move it accordingly.
Well,
to some degree,
sort of, yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you miss a line, they had it final line at 197.5 and Atlanta 178. If you miss a line by 19 points, that's not great. You've missed a line by 10%. That's not ideal. That's leaving a lot of meat on the bone for bettors right there.
Comparing to the opening line, the game went under by 70 points.
70 points, yeah, absolutely.
So donkey of the day has got to be the Vegas bookmakers. I'm sure a lot of people didn't even know that this happened.
No.
But especially with the growing interest in betting around the world and how it's starting to get more legalized in this country, state by state, you will probably never see a bigger gaffe by a Vegas bookmaker, arguably in your lifetime, because that is next level ridiculousness.
No, I figured that was like Barstool book had that.
That's a unicorn right there. You will never see that again.
Yeah, you won't. And that's, yeah, absolutely brutal. So
under 3.5 people getting fired from that performance.
I just feel bad for the people that had it at under 248 and then it got down to 198 and you're like, I've got to arbitrage this. I've got 50 points to play with.
I feel bad for the person who bought low on the over at 197.5.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. All right. Well, Scott, we all saw it. Bucks tied it up 2-2. As we talked about, Phoenix Suns were in control for much of the game. I mean, it was a back and forth game. They never was no big leads. There were no double digit leads in this game, were there?
I'm trying to remember if Phoenix was ever up 10, maybe in the beginning, but I think it mostly topped out around 8. But I'll double check that. But it was pretty close throughout.
That's what my thought was. But Phoenix did have it under control there in the fourth quarter. But Scott, you and I talked about a turning point early in the fourth quarter, and that's when we knew we were in trouble. And when was that?
Well, that was when the Suns knew they were in trouble. That's when we had a shot.
Well, right. We had the Bucks, but
for the record, the largest lead was 9 in the entire game.
Okay,
it came when Booker picked up his 5th foul, going for that rebound on Tucker with about 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Yep. So
Booker's head was all over the place in that fourth quarter. We'll get to that in a second.
Well, he had to go to the bench with 40, and that was
a terrible foul.
You didn't think it was a good call? You thought it was a bad foul?
Oh no. Tucker flopped, which is what everyone does. Shout out to Jay Crowder for flopping on every single possession in that fourth quarter, but it was a foul. I just meant it was terrible, as in it was just awful basketball IQ. Booker was the only guy on both teams that was really cooking for the first 3 quarters. You can't pick up a foul on a rebound while Tucker's running baseline under the basket. That's just terrible.
Makes no sense. But that was really when the game was over, when the only guy that's able to score at all has to go to the bench. Do you think they held him out too long, Scott?
Truth is, no. Because we'll get to it in a second, but Booker, in the 5 minutes that he played to end the game, arguably committed another 3 fouls. So I can't really be mad at the spacing, because if they brought him back with 8 minutes to go, he might have picked up 13 before they finally called one.
And that's who you wanted. That was your silver medal donkey of the day right there, right? Was the refs.
The refs. I don't know how you missed that Booker foul on Holiday on that break, on that 3-on-2 break. I understand that Giannis got a putback layup on that. That is right in front of you. That is a clear foul. Booker's grabbing the jersey from one hand, maybe hits a little bit of the ball, but mostly the arm. That's a huge call. I don't know how you miss that. That's right there.
I was stunned that wasn't a foul. There was no way that didn't get called.
It was obvious, but of course it didn't matter in the long run. Now, if Phoenix had won the game, you would have had an all-time controversy on your hands. But since Milwaukee won, people are going to forget about this tomorrow. So it's not going to really matter. But on such a stage where we criticize refs all the time, that was a really bad missed call.
And obviously the bigger games, later in the games, they let them play. But you can take it too far. And I think they absolutely took it too far in this one.
Well, on one hand they did, but on the other hand, Crowder's falling down on every single jump shot, and they're giving him free throws every time. Now, the issue I just have is transparency, because it's like you choose to swallow your whistles on some possessions, but other possessions you're going to keep calling fouls that are just ticky-tack. Can we just get some consistency in here? That's really the one thing that bothers me, because they called that one reach-in foul on Tucker, which somehow was called a shooting foul on Booker when that was clearly on the floor, which I just thought was an awful job officiating. But we can go on about officials in any basketball game, and it's really never going to change our thoughts on the actual, outcome and everything, because the refs are awful in every game. But on such a big stage, you can't miss that. That's right in front of you.
Well, I mean, is there an answer? Do you want to have more reviews? You want to stop the game, slow the game down more?
Then you turn it into the NBA in the final 2 minutes, but for about the final 5 minutes, and it takes about 3 hours to finish the fourth quarter.
That's what I'm saying. So what's the answer?
Get younger refs with better eyesight? I don't really know. Isn't every ref in the league about 65?
Well, I don't think they're that old, but
it feels that way, doesn't it, though?
It definitely seems like they're late 40s, early 50s. And
some of that's training, because you have to go through a lot of years of grinding
that's
whatever.
The thing. Is there no way in a sport you can identify young talent? You can have 21, 22-year-old rookies that come up and play well. Is there no way to identify superstar refs? You have nobody scouting refs at the high school level or lower college level, NAIA, that kind of stuff. Can you not find guys that are 25, 28 that are really good referees and just, for God's sakes, move them into the NBA, give them a little training, let them maybe referee a year in the G League, and then open it up? I mean, why can't we do this? Why don't we have younger referees that can keep up and see what's going on?
I think they should at least try. I'm sure that around the country you probably have NBA ref boot camps or something to try to train some of the guys to hone their skills or something before they end up advancing. So I don't know why you can't kind of treat it. I don't want to start equating referee stuff to basketball camps where you can tell, like, this guy's going to be a 5-star prospect, this guy's going to be really good. But you should be able to determine this guy's really good, this guy should be in the NBA, give him some games. Even regular season games, give him something preseason. Just try something. Because you're getting the same faces getting these big games every year, like Tony Brothers, and we all know about Scott Foster, and we know about all these other guys. If you know the name of refs, they're probably not that good. And I think we can agree a lot of the senior refs in the NBA are not very good. Would you agree with that statement?
You know who was a young referee?
I'm curious where you go with this one.
Tim Donaghy.
Well, he was good before the scandal stuff, wasn't he?
Well, yeah. I mean, he was highly rated, but he was, late 30s or whatever?
Scandals happen to anybody, though. I mean, it doesn't really matter about age. It's just a matter of finding somebody who's vulnerable enough to actually accept the amount of money. But
since we've popped the top on this can of worms, can we agree that every sport the officials are too old?
Pretty much.
With the possible exception of hockey.
With the exception of Joe West.
I
NHL actually is good refs for the most part. I think they.
You know why? You know why, Scott? I bet it's really easy, and even I know why. And I'm not a hockey geek, but I know why, and I bet you do too. Why is it, Scott? Why are they young?
Why the hockey refs are better?
Yeah.
I actually don't know where you're going with this.
Okay. Well, for starters, they're younger.
Okay. Well, that was a given. I thought you meant why they were younger in hockey.
No, they're younger. They're in better shape. You have to be in tremendous shape because you know what? There's no shifts for referees.
That is true.
The referees aren't playing just 1 out of 4 shifts. They're playing every shift. So you've got to be in fantastic shape. You're in good shape. You're young. You skate. You're energetic. You find yourself in good positions to make good calls. That's the way it is.
I think that's the issue that you kind of just brought up. The key is positioning when it comes to refs. When you have a lot of old guys who are in their 50s or 60s making calls, you tend to stand in the same spot that you're supposed to, and that causes you to get some terrible angles on some pretty important plays. I think that's kind of the main issue.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. It is all about positioning and hustling to get a look at the play. And there's some referees, there's some umpires, and you brought up Joe West, and he's probably the most egregious. But there's always been
Or Hernandez is the most egregious, but still.
Well, yeah, and he has no excuse. I mean, other than being fairly old. But I don't know. It's a road we didn't plan on going down. But get some younger officials in there. Seriously,
I think that would definitely at least help. Maybe blend some old ones and some young ones. Keep a senior crew chief or something as the old one. But either way, that's going to be one point we're going to talk about for this game. The other point we got to talk about was the point guard play. So I'm just going to ask you a question straight up. Who was worse, Chris Paul or Drew Holiday?
Well,
I'll go through the numbers. Chris Paul played 37 minutes, 5 for 13, 10 points, 7 assists, 5 turnovers. On the other hand, you have Drew Holiday, who defensively was pretty good with 3 steals, but he had 13 points, 4 for 20 from the floor, 0 for 5 from 3. Who did you think was worse?
I can't. Well, it's hard to get past 4 for 20 when you're shooting.
It really is, but I thought that Holiday defensively was trying. I don't really know what Chris Paul did for about 40 minutes. What did he do?
The thing that really hurt with Chris Paul, especially down the stretch, was just the ridiculous turnovers in the lane. I think he had 3 of them there in the fourth quarter.
Well, that's what caused the Booker 6th foul controversy, was the fact that Paul stumbled and that caused the 3-on-1 break.
Right. So
I got to go Paul.
He's probably, because there was higher expectations out of Paul.
Of course. Holiday we knew was bad. It wasn't like suddenly he's struggling and you go, oh, that's a shocker.
You say you get 13 points and Holiday's +8 for his time on the floor. That's a win right there.
Defensively, I thought Holiday was fine. Offensively, he was atrocious. But
you know what? He got to the line. Now that's about all I can say about him from offensive standpoint.
I was going to say, if we're talking about just value on both sides of the court, Holiday offensively was a 0. Paul was maybe a 2. But defensively, Holiday did have 3 steals. He did have to pressure Chris Paul a lot, and sometimes Booker, but Booker had 40-something, so I don't really know how much of a factor he played. But Chris Paul was 0 steals, 0 blocks either. I mean, the blocks are a given, but still. Point is that if you're doing nothing defensively and you're turning the ball over and you're probably the most ball-secure point guard in the entire league, it looked like Paul couldn't dribble. Now, I know he has a torn ligament in his hand, which could be a huge reason why, which is something I might look into moving forward. But when Booker was all you had and you needed another guy to step up, the Bucks knew they still had Middleton and Giannis. That's why the Suns lost, because Chris Paul couldn't do anything. He had 10 points. One was a meaningless layup with 2 seconds left. So he really had 8 points when it actually mattered. That was the story of the game, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the lack of ability on Chris Paul's part, especially down the stretch, doomed this team. There's no question about it. So let's talk about series going forward, Scott. Like we said, it's been a homer series so far, tied up 2-2. And now we go 1-1-1. We play 2 in Phoenix, 1 in Milwaukee. Suns, as it stands right now, Scott, -155, and that's actually down. They were -160 about 5 minutes ago. So a little bit of Bucks money coming in on the series price. Bucks are +135. Can the Bucks steal a road game, Scott? That's really the question.
I think they can if you think Chris Paul is not going to be able to go for a huge game. Now, we thought the same thing might happen. I know he had earlier in the playoffs, he was off against the Lakers. Then he suddenly came back and Denver was great. Had a couple of really bad games or bad quarters against the Clippers. And then he absolutely torched them in the closeout game. So maybe Paul can get it together. But that's the main issue, because I feel like we both agree Phoenix had a great opportunity and just let it completely explode in their hands. They really just had it. And now Milwaukee has the best player on the court. They have the 3rd best player on the court, because Booker, I'll go, is the 2nd best. But I do think Middleton's probably the 3rd best player on the court. I don't know if you agree with that.
Well, he certainly was last night.
Saying, do you think Middleton's better than Booker? Because I don't.
No, no, not night in, not
So I'll
night
go
in.
3 there. You can argue Ayton, but I disagree. But anyway, I just don't think Phoenix has enough. And that was kind of the main issue that I had with this team in the regular season, where I bet on them to win the division. I thought they'd go on a decent run once AD got injured. I picked them in every game against the Nuggets. I picked them whatever. But if Chris Paul's not going to give you, I'd say at least 20-6, do you really have anybody on this team besides Booker who can just create their own shot?
No,
That's a
no,
problem.
you really don't. And this is a team that it really had a good killer instinct. And when they had the Bucks down, they've been able to put them away. Yeah, they had that 7-point lead with less than 9 minutes left in the quarter and couldn't close it out. That's just not good. And I'm worried that's going to wear on their psyche, Scott.
I think it would. I still think that Phoenix has a great home court advantage, and so does Milwaukee, which is why I thought it would be a home series. But I just can't get over the fact that Chris Paul, unless he gets it together, even partially, they just don't have enough offense. They just don't have it.
Well, I really want to know how bad the hand is hurt because he does get basically 2.5 full days to recover.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if it's something that can be made better by Saturday. Because, obviously it wasn't a factor in the first 3 games for the most part. I mean, he had his moments of not looking great, but nothing like last night.
Well, you saw Paul was also grabbing his hand frequently in the second half, so you could tell it was clearly bothering him.
Right. That's when I just don't know if it's gotten worse or what the situation is there. So we'll see.
It's either Bucks or pass if I had to bet on the series right now. You?
I agree. Yeah, I want no part of laying. Wow, Scott, and even as we speak, okay, so then now it's minus 180 for the Suns. This is a very fluid line since we've been on the air here. Now it's minus 180 for the Suns, plus 160 for the Bucks. I'm pouncing on that.
Sounds about right. You might make an argument that money will come in on Phoenix to bounce back at home, maybe. But Holiday went 4 for 20, and Giannis only had 26 points. They still won. I just have a hard time believing Chris Paul has another game like he had in Game 6 against the Clippers in his back pocket if he can really only dribble with one hand.
We'll see because we'll talk about it more tomorrow because of course it's a Saturday game, and we'll be previewing that a little bit on tomorrow's show. See, and hopefully we'll have a little more injury information on Chris Paul by that point. So stay tuned. It's been a fun series so far, and if you've bet the home team to cover, you've done well. And if you've bet the over, you've done well as well, with the exception of last night's game. So
I think it's going to be do you think it's an under series moving forward, or no, because the pace was still very good after the first quarter?
See, that's the thing. You had one stinker quarter, and then they went, 62, 53, 53?
Something like that.
So, no, I'm not ready to say a trend that's, hit 6 of the last 7 games going into that one before they played I'm not ready to call that done yet. So,
yeah, I don't want to fully overreact, but I'm probably going to look for some Chris Paul unders for points in his next couple of games. At least until he proves to me his hand can no longer limit his scoring upside.
Probably not a terrible idea. Hey, speaking of the NBA, Scott, Team USA, after breaking through against the Argentinians the day before yesterday, looking like they might actually have something. And now we find out Bradley Beal's tested positive for COVID. So far, he's the only one. Not a ton to say about this, Scott. I'll just ask you, do you think this is a sign, like the canary in the coal mine, of more to come, or you think they're going to be able to keep this as an isolated incident? And what effect do you think it has on Team USA chances, if any?
Well, I know that the vaccine isn't an end-all be-all, but for most cases, it tends to be a pretty good way of limiting the outbreak. I don't know if Beal had it, or if Beal just never got a vaccine.
Don't know.
You know the answer to that?
I don't know. They have not.
Well, either or. Point is that it's kind of weird how you play an entire NBA season where you're traveling all the time, and then suddenly you just get it while you're surrounded by other NBA players that you probably are playing against for the majority of the year. I found the timing a bit interesting, but either way, I think it's not going to be an issue for Team USA, but I do think it's going to be an outbreak for the entire Olympic Games as a whole. And we talked about this mostly with Japan and how a lot of the country, about 80+%, is still not vaccinated.
Right.
Could be 85+%. I don't remember the exact number, but it's a lot.
About 80. It's about 85 still unvaccinated.
Yeah. So the point is that even if you can say it might not impact Team USA in this case, you're going to see a lot of COVID cases during the Olympics. And I think you're going to have at least maybe 5 separate conversations on whether or not they should suspend operations, because I think it's going to get really bad. You?
I'm not sure I'm quite as pessimistic as you are.
5
but
might be a stretch, but I do think you will get a decent amount of outbreaks in various events.
yeah, and the thing that I worry about is taking it back home as well.
Yeah.
To some of the, you obviously have people there from almost every country. A lot of the countries have not had the success with the vaccine that the United States have had, and this is for the record, and I found this kind of astounding. More people have died from COVID so far in 2021 than have died in all of 2020. Did you realize that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, of course not in the United States, but worldwide, the variants have taken hold. First, it was the English variant, and now the Delta variant. I'm tired of talking about COVID, Scott. I got to be honest with you.
I'm tired of it too, but for the sake of
No, I mean I know
sports-
it's still out there. No, I'm not saying we should stop. I'm just saying I'm ready for it to stop. I'm ready for this to be done.
I'm not sure when that's going to be, but I'm planning a trip to Vegas as we speak, so I'm trying to move on with my life.
I'm ready. All right. So, Scott, a lot of trends going on in baseball, a lot of things that have been identified. And over there at Action Network, they laid out some really good ones. I'll give them props because they do a lot of good analytical, statistical work. So we talk about a few real quick MLB trends that have been identified in the first half, and we'll see if those are actionable there in the second half. One of my favorites, and this one is unbelievable. And this is actually, I was aware of this when we talked about it a little bit on the radio. I talked about it with my premium subscribers. It's the Rockies and their home and away splits. It is unbelievable, Scott. They are the most profitable team on their home diamond. They're at Coors Field. They're the most profitable home team in the major leagues. On the road, least profitable. You ever see anything like that?
I'm actually surprised they're the least profitable. I thought it would be Arizona, but either way.
Colorado's actually lost more, had a worse record in Arizona on the road. With Arizona, including Arizona losing 24 in a row on the road, Colorado is still worse. That tells you how bad they are.
Impressive.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like that before.
No, it's unbelievable.
The only comparison I could think of is the 76ers about a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Different sport, but same idea.
Yeah, that was the Rockies are 9-34 away from home.
Not good.
No, not good at all. They're 31-17 at home.
On the bright side, that's better than the National League and the All-Star game over the last 20-something years.
Not good. Not good at all. So keep that in mind going forward. The Rockies, tremendous value at home and no value at all on the road.
Well, they have value on the road, just betting against them.
Oh yeah, the other team absolutely has value. Scott, how about a little Mets under? Can I interest you in the Mets unders?
Well, there's a caveat to that, but it's the unders at home.
Unders at home, 28-13-1 to the under there at Citi Field. They have the best home defense, the best home pitching, allowing just 2.26 runs per game, and they have the worst home offense in baseball, scoring just 3.32. You add those together, that's 5.58 runs per game. That's going to catch a lot of unders, no question about it. They are like I said, 28-13-1 at home. That is a win percentage of 68%. That is an actionable thing right there. And they've got Carlos Carrasco, David Peterson, and Noah Syndergaard all coming back at some point in the second half. So the pitching is probably just going to get better.
Well, I actually don't agree with that last point. I know they laid it out because they're expecting Syndergaard and people to come back.
Right.
It's pretty dicey when you're relying on guys who, Peterson, I think we both don't like. We don't think Peterson's very good. So I'm just going to come out and say that. Syndergaard has had arm issues throughout his entire career. I'm not exactly expecting him to come back from such a layoff and just start pumping it 100 miles per hour like he used to. I think Syndergaard might struggle. And Carrasco, same thing. The question is, you could argue the pitching might be better as a whole from top to bottom, but do you really feel comfortable laying some unders with some pitchers who are relatively unproven for the first couple of starts? I'd probably wait it out, one or two
Depends
starts.
on who it is. Yeah, I'd like to see one start out of Syndergaard. Since,
That's what I'm saying. So even with the pitching rotation potentially getting better, I would still pump the brakes on those individual guys until I actually see what form they're in once they return.
Okay, fair enough. So Scott, what would be your guess? And I bet you can get it, especially if you read the piece I sent you. What's the most profitable team in baseball?
I actually did not look at this.
Who's the most surprising team in baseball at this point?
Giants.
Yeah, Giants are the most probable, and as again, not surprising since they have the best record in baseball. They're 57-32. They're up 20.1 units. Can you give me any of the next four?
Tigers.
No,
Damn
no.
it.
They were
good. They were really
horrible
good for the last month and change.
They were horrible the first 6 weeks. It pretty much sunk them. Yeah, but yeah.
Okay.
How about Seattle,
Okay.
Boston,
Okay.
Tampa Bay, and Houston?
Tampa was gonna be my next guess, but yeah.
All right, let's go to the other side.
I thought you were purposely giving me a long shot or two in there.
No, there was all Seattle would be your long
Seattle,
shot.
yeah, but okay.
But you didn't expect them to be over 500. They're 5 games over 500.
They also can't hit, but they're also over 500.
Yep. Yep. Well, they're led by the Cooch, man.
They're not hitting wise. That was the most devastating part of the All-Star game. You were waiting for the Cooch to come out of the bullpen. That never happened.
No Cooch. No Cooch. No Chapman. He hates lefties, apparently.
Yep, hate to see it.
Who's the least profitable team, Scott?
Who's the least profitable team?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. You have a couple of choices here because it could be like a really, really bad team or it could be a team like the Yankees that are just laying all the time.
I'm going to give you a hint. The two worst teams are very close to our hearts. Well, number 4 and 5. Sorry.
Well, it's got to be Arizona for being awful.
Yep.
I mean, that's just a no-brainer.
Yep.
And I'm trying to think if the second one is Pittsburgh, if that's also too obvious.
Baltimore.
Okay, that too.
Okay, now there's kind of a tricky one. That's the third least profitable team that was expected to be good and hasn't been good at all. Has been overbet pretty much all season long. Twins. And then Scott bringing up the rear at number 4 and 5, least profitable. My Kansas City Royals, minus 12.9 units. Your New York Yankees, minus 10 units.
Yep.
So, yeah, there you go. So it's something that you guys need to keep in mind. As far as records go, you see a game, you're like, oh, Colorado, they suck. They're at home. Be careful. Be careful.
Then again, you also want to remember, sorry to interrupt, that some of these teams that are really, really bad are going to blow it up or they're going to be selling at the deadline. They're going to be even worse in the immediate future. They might call up some prospects during the 40-man in September, so maybe you might see some teams that are dead to rights suddenly look decent because they have some young talent competing for jobs next year. But for the most part, you can try to gamble on some win totals, which we'll talk about in a bit, trying to project which teams might somehow get even worse by shipping off all the good players on the team.
Minnesota.
Chicago.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah, I think maybe both.
Yeah.
Why not both? Yeah, I think the Twins. The problem with the Twins, because they're one of the best over teams because they have decent home run hitting and horrible pitching. In fact, they are the most profitable over team. The overs hit 64% of their games. So the pitching obviously isn't going to get any better, but the hitting is going to get worse because they're going to deal number one on your list, number one in your hearts. It's Nelson Cruz. He's on a 1-year deal. He gone. Somebody's going to plug him in at the DH spot.
Donaldson's probably gone too, or he's going to be close to gone.
Donaldson's probably gone. Byron Buxton, that's something they have to start taking a look at with these guys. So we'll see what happens.
Chicago is the ultimate I don't want to say gamble, but it's the ultimate fall off a cliff situation if they actually go through with what we think they're going to do.
Yeah, they could very well challenge Pittsburgh there for last place in the Central. So Scott, you kind of mentioned it a little bit. We've got some prop action that came out today in baseball as far as player futures. Yesterday we talked about division winners, talked a little bit about World Series odds and the championship odds for the pennant, that kind of thing. So let's talk a little bit, Scott, about some of the individual awards. So as we have talked about, Ohtani, massive favorite for MVP in the American League, minus 350. Vlad plus 225. Everybody else 40-1 or better.
Nothing's changed. It's just Ohtani for the whole media circus and the fact that he pitches and hits.
And a similar situation in the National League. Jacob deGrom's favorite, even money. Tatis plus 110. Everybody else 25 or 1 to bet or better.
I got to go DeGrom just because the numbers are Gibson-esque. You?
Yeah, I'm just looking at this list, and there's just really nobody that stands. I mean, I would.
Acuna maybe was a wild card shot, but of course he's out for the year, so
Yeah.
you pretty much have two guys in both. And Tatis you make an argument for, maybe because DeGrom's had some shoulder issues this season, but Tatis always gets injured, so that doesn't really solve anything.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about DeGrom is I'm just leery of a pitcher at the halfway point worrying about injuries, especially a guy that's kind of been nicked up a little bit. DeGrom has. I mean,
I'm
I don't
just
know how
saying,
you.
so is Tatis, so they kind of cancel each other out, don't you think?
Yeah. Although I like the odds of Tatis staying healthier better.
I love Tatis as a player. He is injured all the time.
He is. He seems pretty injury prone. Now, as far as the Cy Young winner goes, Scott.
Well, DeGrom's a lock, so we can just throw that one out.
Well, that's in the National League.
I know. I'm saying we're only talking about the American League on this one.
Well, I don't think DeGrom's a lock, but we'll talk about that in a minute, and I'll tell you.
Barring a serious injury, but fair.
That's right. You already know why. So, Garrett Cole is the favorite in the American League. You want any part of Garrett Cole at minus 110 to win the Cy Young?
I'm trying to think how realistic it is. I know for the MVP, you tend to root for them to give it to a guy on a winning team. Of course, Trout's broken that narrative for his entire career. But would they give the Cy Young to the ace on a staff that wasn't good enough to make the playoffs? I really don't know. Now, Greinke, I remember, did win a Cy Young with Kansas City. Those teams were awful.
He only won 15 games, too.
But I'm saying those teams were terrible. But his ERA was so good and he was great, they gave it to him anyway.
Yep.
I wouldn't vote for Cole. If I had to pick one guy right now, I'd probably pick Lance Lynn.
I would agree. Lance Lynn plus 450. That's exactly who I had my eye on. I have more faith in Lance Lynn than our Carlos Rodon. I got to be honest with you.
So do I. No offense to Rodon. He's been great, but the sample size is a lot bigger with Lynn.
Agreed. And Cole, let's face it, Scott, he had that shutout his last time out there before the All-Star game. He's been horrible since the sticky icky got banned.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. He's got a we talked about it yesterday, over 4 ERA. He's been a number 3 starter, number 4 starter since the 1st of June. So
I think the level of competition also plays a factor because you look at the AL East. Of course, Baltimore's terrible. Toronto's not a great team, but the lineups in that division really not bad. Meanwhile, you look at the AL
Toronto
Central,
can hit a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. You got Toronto who can hit, Tampa can manufacture runs, and Boston can hit. So you got a decent amount of lineups in there. The AL Central has Minnesota, who might be shipping everybody.
Yep.
And I don't know, Kansas City twice a month.
Cleveland can't hit.
Yeah, Cleveland can't hit at all.
Detroit
has been better lately, but they're one of the worst offenses in the league.
Royals are rolling downhill.
Yeah, they go by matchups. So Lynn should have a lot of favorable matchups down the stretch against division opponents.
Absolutely true. So that's absolutely has to be factored in there. Any of these long shot guys you like?
Not particularly, honestly.
Chris Bassett, 28-1.
No, it's not pretty. I think that if you want to talk about some other awards, the Rookie of the Year races, which maybe you could take a long shot, but unless you get an injury, it's going to be pretty much top of the food chain because you're more than halfway through the season. I don't exactly see a long shot from 50-1 out of nowhere to win an MVP or a Cy Young. I just think that we're too far along in the season. You?
It would have to be an incredible second half of the season for that to happen. Now, I believe it's more possible for an MVP because you could have a batter get hot for the second half of the season.
It would have to be like Joey Votto 10 years ago when he batted about 400.
Right. Yeah, it would have to be. Now, let's talk about the National League Cy Young. I know you think DeGrom's a lock. I'm just for injury, Scott. For starters, I'm not laying 1 to 10.
You shouldn't. I'm just saying, based on the price, I can't blame the odds makers for it.
No, I can't either. But you know what? Give me a little Kevin Gausman. Give me some Gauss. Because I think the most surprising pitcher on the most surprising team, at 14-1, I'll take a little sniff of that.
I would dig to see if I can find a most improved player, but Gaussman should be the favorite in that one.
You would think so, yeah. I don't, but I looked up some his stats, and he was better than you thought.
Correct. But nobody thought he'd be a top 5 pitcher in the league.
No, nobody thought he was going to be the tied for second favorite for the NL Cy Young. No question about it. So of all that, what's the best value? What do you like? You look rookie of the year. You and I talked about that. We think there is a real lock at the top there.
Trevor Rogers and the NL at plus 150.
Yep.
You're looking at Carlson, Hayes are both at 6-1. You have Jethro Tull at plus 650. Rogers is so good.
Yeah.
Once again, injuries to the pitcher are always concerning, but he has been so damn good for that team.
He's just one of a trio, but yeah, he's been the best of the three, and he's been good all season long. I like Trevor Rogers. Give me at plus 150. That's my favorite futures play on the board, no question about it.
I agree. And then for a long shot in the American League, I like Emmanuel Clase at plus 650 for the AL Rookie of the Year. You got Garcia, who's an all-star leading, which makes sense, but he kind of fell off a cliff after the first couple months. Arozarena is second at 3-1. I don't really think he was that great this year. He's been okay. Clase's got like a sub-2 ERA, closer of the Indians. I know the Indians aren't a great team, but you put up some really impressive bullpen numbers, and if Cleveland's desperate and they use him pretty much every day, you could have a decent amount of save opportunities here, and I don't think the competition's that strong in the AL.
You are dreaming if you think they are going to give the Rookie of the Year to a closer on a losing team.
I'm just saying.
I don't think he's going to have enough opportunities to put up.
That's fair. I'm just saying. I think plus 650 is tempting. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. I can't argue with that. But there is. I like Mountcastle, Scott.
I think he's a good player.
I wish he didn't play for Baltimore, because if you look at his numbers, he's hitting 255, which is for this year, that's fine. But he's got 14 home runs, 48 RBIs. The kid can hit. He really can. He hit last year. He's hit this year. I just wish he didn't play for Baltimore, but I think there could be a little bit of value on him at 14-1 if he catches fire.
That's fair. Talk about Clase, by the way, just to go back, 11 saves, 1.72 ERA. He's got some good numbers. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, just the 11 saves though, that hurts.
Yeah, definitely true.
So Scott, we do have a baseball game tonight, and it is going to be the New York Yankees against the Boston Red Sox. Oh boy, because we don't see enough of that. We got a line. It's a weird situation, Scott, because we don't have an official pitcher as we speak right now for the Yankees, but it looks as if it is going to be Montgomery.
I got a question for you anyway. Does it matter who's pitching for the Yankees?
It doesn't to the odds maker, Scott, because they've already made a line on this game without an announced pitcher for the Yankees, which is extremely unusual. If you bet baseball, you know how unusual that is. But it's the only game on the card. People want to bet it. You got to get a little action, so they got it opened up as Yankees minus 125. The total, Scott, 10.5. 10.5 on the total. Are they just daring us to play the under there? Are we getting the old okey doke, Scott?
Seems that way. I'm just going to take Boston. This team's undefeated against the Yankees. I'm not going to overthink this.
6-0. Eduardo Rodriguez goes for the Bostons against the Yanks. Like I said, most likely going to be Montgomery. There's a pretty good body of evidence that Eduardo Rodriguez has kind of been pitching in some bad luck. He's got a ERA of 5.14, but he's got an xERA or a WOBA, if you prefer, whichever, of 3.54. So he's really been underperforming his peripherals. It looks like he's probably been a little bit unlucky. I have to go with you there and take the Red Sox. I mean, it's the only possibility that would change that would be Cole, right? Anybody else would be.
Yeah, if it was Cole, then of course you're going to see the Yankees probably balloon up to minus 200. Right. I would still take Boston. Under no circumstance would I take the Yankees in this game. You're talking about a team that's in first place in the division, that's undefeated against this opponent, right? And yet they're still getting plus money. Sure, thank you.
The Yankees tax is real, my friend.
Yep, thank you very much. I'll take the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to take that all day, right there, my friend. And yeah, Garrett, and it won't be Garrett Cole almost for certain because he would be on short rest.
Yeah.
He pitched on Saturday. He would only be pitching on 4 days rest as opposed to his normal 5 days of rest. So he most likely will get the start on Friday. So
Yep.
I gotta go. I gotta go Red Sox. You have any thoughts on the total?
It's going to be overpass. It's just a matter of I wouldn't touch it because the Yankees can hit most days. Boston's lineup against Montgomery is absolutely terrifying. So I'd probably look for Boston team total over.
Okay.
You?
Yeah, that's solid. I don't hate that. And because
You trust
starters,
Chapman coming out of the pen?
well, no, I don't. But I was going to say the Sox have really done a nice job of supporting Rodriguez.
Yep.
So they've put up 54 runs for him in the last 7 games. So they're putting up almost 8 runs a game in support of Rodriguez. And you and I have talked about that before. There's no logical reason for that to happen, but sometimes it just does. Some guys get all the runs. Some guys get no runs at all. And this year it's been Rodriguez, at least lately, who's been getting the tremendous support. So
I'll go team total over.
I think team total over is the play there, and you don't have to worry about the Yankees at all. So, all right, Scott. Well, it is that time. We've made it through the show. It's time where you and I have put our heads together. We have sorted out all the games today, Scott. And we've come up with one play that we like better than all the others. If you had to bet it all, if you had to put all your chips in the middle and make just one play today, don't do it today. This is a terrible day. But we do have a play. We think you're going to like it. We think it's going to cash. It's time to climb on your tractor, put on your straw hat. Let the animals go free, everybody. It's time for Bet the Farm. This is the part where you talk.
I thought you were going to talk about how we did yesterday.
Oh, that's right. I forgot, Scott. We forgot to recap yesterday. We had Giannis double-double and the Bucks to win. How did that work out?
Nice and easy.
Nice and easy. That was a win for Bet the Farm. Congratulations, farmers. All right. There you go. Thank you, Scott. I'm getting old. I forget these things.
Yep,
So you
all
got
good.
one.
Anyway.
Got one cooked up.
Yep. Segueing to the actual Bet the Farm play today, we're going to be looking at soccer. And you have Team USA playing against Martinique. If you didn't know Martinique was a country, that's okay. I didn't too about a day or two ago. But we like Team USA to win both halves at minus 145 on DraftKings. Now, you look at the FIFA rankings, these teams aren't even close to each other. USA ranks 20th. Martinique's not even ranked, so I'm not really sure what the story is there. The Team USA is minus 1,200 on the money line. Martinique to not score is minus 390. USA to score 3+ goals is minus 200. We think USA rolls here.
All right. So just to be clear, the official bet is the USA to win both halves.
Yes.
All right. So they have to. So basically, if the second half starts 0-0, they have to win that half as well.
View both halves independently. They have to outscore them in both.
Right. Very good. And that is going to be the USA against Martinique. Haven't spent a lot of time in the Caribbean, huh, Scott?
I have, but not to Martinique.
All right. Very good. Well, that is going to do it for our show. That's going to do it for Bet the Farm. Get your bets down on the USA soccer team. You guys have a great day. Good luck on all of your plays. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow on Winners and Winers Radio. Take care, everybody.